Hey, I'm Michael Rerko, and I'm here to talk about my new student dialogue. I went to the one on poverty. I went to like a month and a half, 2 months ago, so I might be a little rusty on a few things. But um, uh, yeah, I thought it was really interesting. There's a lot of stuff that I learned about there that I did not know about, and a lot of stuff that came as a surprise. There's a bunch of questions that came along with it. The first one was describe your experience in this new student dialogue, and kind of like I said before, it was definitely like not entertaining in a good way because obviously it's a very touchy subject. Um, I thought that it was really not yeah, both enlightening but eye opening because I wasn't too familiar with the poverty that was going on and everything that goes along with that. And surprisingly, there's a lot more poverty around than one would really think. One fact that surprised me is, other than the students that are on campus, about one third of all the residents in Clemson are live at or below the poverty line, which is like that kind of put me at awe, which is like surprising because you don't really see that yet. Um, Yet it's there, you know. So yeah, that was definitely one of the things that I thought that was yeah. I mean that was definitely surprising. Um, I so the way it worked is we kind of played a game, and each person had took on a different role. Some people were in a family, some people were by themselves, some people were just a couple, some people were old, some people were toddlers, but they were all people living kind of at or below the poverty line. My character, for example, was a 70-year-old man, and what I oh he was living by himself. He was widowed. He lived with a few cats. Lives in a house. This small house is kind of falling apart. Doesn't have a car, and currently has a bunch of medications that he had to pay for that insurance wasn't necessarily covering all of. And he didn't have a job, being retired, yet he needed money to try and pay for all of the different expenses that he goes through that he needs each day. Um, so what we did is we walked around and we had different things we had to spend each time or at each different station. So for example, each week I had to spend $30 for food, and I did earn some money from the government, which is helpful. And then I had different like possessions of mine. I had a stereo, a refrigerator, a microwave, a TV, and I believe one other thing. I don't remember what it was, but and they each had a different monetary value. And in the beginning, you could sell those off. You could sell them to the pawn. I believe it was a pawn shop, and they would give you money for that, which is really convenient. But towards the end of that, like when they already had so many from like other people that you weren't going to be able to get any money from it. So that was definitely difficult. Um, and every time you went to a different station, you would have to pay money for transportation. Um, and You just had to pay different expenses. You had to pay medical bills, food, utilities, et cetera, et cetera. And the way it worked is you needed to figure out how to manage your money and spend it wisely each week, and like know how to like set a budget and whatnot. And unfortunately, there were times where my character did not have enough money to make it throughout the week, so we resorted to crime, which is a little funny. Um, we ended up having to like steal some money from other people without them noticing when they were up at different stations, which is honestly was kind of funny. I mean, maybe it wasn't totally fair, but it was it was still yeah. Um, so there's that, and then in the end, you needed to find out if you could have made it through the entire, I believe it was through the entire month with the money that you had, and then kind of evaluate from there. And a lot of people like some people were able to make it, some people were able to actually come out with profits and make money, but a lot of the people were in the same situation where I was, where they had to go for broke. Um, and it was just quite interesting to see how that worked. I mean, and the most important thing about this was that everyone was on the same. This is when it wasn't an exaggerated example. Like these are actual like people that have to live like this, which is that was one of the things that kind of really got to me. That was real surprising because I didn't know. Which is kind of part of the next question is just that. like what we went through, what we thought was a game, was actually people's lives, and that was kind of like it was unbelievable that people had to go through that and live with the stress each day of not having to or of not knowing when their next meal was going to come from, or if they had enough money to buy food, or if they were able to afford utilities. And another thing that came up in the game was occasionally there'd be random like surprises. So sometimes it could be good or bad. Like one time, I think I got a $50 check or something, which is nice. It paid for my food and then some of my utilities for the month. But then there's another time when I had a leak in my roof and I had to pay for it, which was $150, I believe, which is a lot of money for my character. Um, so that was just one thing, but yeah, no, it just surprised me how people had to deal like how people did actually have to deal with things like this on a daily basis. Um, that was kind of question 1 and 2. For question 3, is what was your interaction with your other participants, your family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, etc. Well, being widowed, I only live with my cats. uh, I lived with Oh no, yeah. So I lived by myself. There were people that I would talk to occasionally, but like like people in the actual activity. But you can see that the activity sort of took over with them. Like they weren't interested in they wanted to fend for themselves and try and be able to make money and provide for their own families. So that was really interesting to see. Like even though it's just a game, people were really getting into it. One of my friends was an autistic 7-year old, and like so he really didn't play much of a role at all in the movie or in the game, sorry, except for having to go to school and having to do this and having to be cared for, which actually like kind of it was interesting to see how like he sort of almost brought the family down, not in a bad way, of course, but well, yes, in a bad way, but not meaning that in a bad way. Um, Question 4 is what stands out to you most about this experience? And I sort of touched on that already. It was just surprising to see how everything that we dealt with in that game wasn't just a game; like it was actually reality. And there's many people that that are living like this, which you don't really expect. Yeah, that was definitely kind of you know like jaw dropping. And then the last question was how has this experience impacted you now? And it definitely changed my outlook on the way on things, including like especially poverty. It makes me realize that what I have, like I take it for granted, and I shouldn't. I need to like everything that I have is given to me, and it's a gift. Not a gift, but I'm blessed with the things that I have, and how fortunate I am to be able to go to Clemson. Go Tigers. um, and and to be able to have a roof over my head and food for me each day, that's unbelievable, and it really makes me feel sad for the people who do have to deal with the poverty on on a daily basis. But no, I definitely the activity really helped me change my outlook on things like that. Not that like oh that there's just people that are impoverished, but now it's like oh this is really like a big thing. Um, But yeah, other than that, I thought it was definitely an eye-opening activity, and I really enjoyed it, to be honest. And yeah, I don't quite know how to end this, so I guess I'll just adios.